Welcome to Friends in Fiction. 5 best-selling authors, endless stories. Friends in Fiction is a Facebook Live program with 5 best-selling novelists whose common love of reading, writing, and independent bookstores bound them together with chats, author interviews, and fascinating insider talk about publishing and writing. These friends discuss the books they've written, the books they're reading now, and the art of storytelling. If you love books and you're curious about the writing world, you're in the right place. Best-selling novelists Mary Kay Andrews, Kristen Harmel, Christy Woodson Harvey, Patty Callahan Henry, and Mary Alice Monroe are 5 longtime friends with more than 80 published books to their credit. At the start of the pandemic, they got together for a virtual happy hour to talk about their books, their favorite bookstores, writing, reading, and publishing in this new uncharted territory. They're still talking, and they've added fascinating discussions with other best-selling novelists. So join them live on their Friends and Fiction Facebook group page every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, or listen and view later at your leisure on their podcast or on their website at www.friendsandfiction.com.
Hi, everybody. It's a wonderful Wednesday night, and that means it's time for Friends in Fiction. 5 best-selling novelists, endless stories. I'm Mary Kay Andrews, and I'm hosting our guest, Caroline Levitt, tonight. And my forthcoming novel, The Newcomer, will be out from St. Martin's Press on May 4th.
Hi, I'm Kristen Harmel, and my next novel, The Forest of Vanishing Stars, will be out from Gallery Books on July 6th.
I'm Christy Woodson Harvey, and my next book, Under the Southern Sky, releases from Gallery Books on April 20th.
I am Patty Callahan Henry, and my next novel is Surviving Savannah, and it comes out on March 9th.
You're muted, Mary Alice.
Mary Alice, you're muted.
Can you unmute it?
No.
Oh, there you go. There you
go. I'm Mary Alice Monroe. And The Summer of Lost and Found is coming out from Gallery May 11th. And thank you for your patience.
And thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out with us on Wednesday nights, as always. You know, before we get busy discussing our guest tonight, we're going to depart from our usual business because we all want to toast some fabulous news we just received. Our own Kristen Harmel's novel, The Book of Lost Names, has been voted a semifinalist.
Ooh, congratulations.
Yeah, in the 2020 Goodreads Best Book of the Year Historic Fiction category. Yay!
There you are.
Awesome.
There it is.
Thank you.
Cheers. Offering a virtual toast
thanks.
to our girl, Kristen.
And be sure to vote.
Go vote.
Wait, and Kristen, can I ask you a question for those of us who might not know this? Now, we all voted for you in the first round. I don't know about everyone else, but I got a snazzy email from Goodreads this morning. I was so excited saying that my person that I had voted for made it to the next round. So now we go and vote again, right? Just because we voted, we still get to vote again.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, if you could vote again by November 15th, that'll hopefully, fingers crossed, help me get through to the final round next week. But I just so appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who voted, and thank you to you guys too. Thank you.
We'll put a reminder of an announcement with a link to Goodreads. And of course, we are thrilled for all the other semifinalists and all the voting categories. But mostly for Kristen.
We love her. And more importantly, we love her book.
Yes.
Yes,
thank
it's
you
such a
guys.
great book.
Thank you.
Yes.
On to tonight's guest, Caroline Levitt, whose latest novel is With or Without You. And, there we go. Caroline is one of the founders of the Facebook group A Mighty Blaze and the award-winning author of 12 novels, including Pictures of You and Is This Tomorrow, among other titles. With or Without You was a Good Morning America book pick and landed on bestseller lists all over the place. Her essays and stories have been featured in New York Magazine, Psychology Today, Red Book, and Salon. In addition to book criticism for People, the Boston Globe, and the San Francisco Chronicle, Caroline teaches online writing classes through Stanford and UCLA's writers program, as well as offering one-on-one writing consulting. You just know we want to hear her writing tip tonight.
Yeah.
And she lives in Hoboken with her husband, Jeff Tamarkin. I hope I got that right. A journalist who's specializing in writing about pop, jazz, and rock music.
Nice.
And since we are talking about books, Caroline tonight has chosen the indie bookstore of the week is Community Bookstore in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And as you know, when we started Friends in Fiction back in April, part of our mission was to support indie bookstores like this week's bookstore, Community Books in Brooklyn, which sounds like the most delightful bookstore possible. It's been in existence for 4 decades with a bookstore cat.
We love cats in the bookstore.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Right, a pond with turtles, and what's described as an unreasonably large selection of books by Trollope. This week, they are offering a 10% discount on books by Caroline, as well as the 5 F&F authors with the code FriendsFiction10, and you will find the link to the store on the website and on our Facebook page. Now, Sean, will you bring in Caroline so we can quiz her?
Thank you so much for having me. And I want to tell all of you, please, go to the Mighty Blaze website and get your, fill out the form because we'll promote all your books. We'd be honored.
I'm a member.
Me too. You guys were so amazing.
Yeah,
it feels like falling.
Job.
My last book came out right. Well, all of ours did right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was so
yeah.
grateful for all of the help.
We're happy to host you again.
Great.
Thank you.
Caroline, it is so good to finally meet you after admiring you and your work on and with A Mighty Blaze. So how's it been during the pandemic? We chatted a little bit before we came on tonight. And
right.
About that.
It's actually been, really, the Mighty Blaze really sort of saved me because it started when the pandemic started and all of us were working 20 hours a day to get the thing up and running. So I didn't really have much time to worry and freak out that there was a pandemic outside because I was trying to promote writers. And we now have a staff of 20 unpaid, passionate volunteers. And
wow.
It's been great. The rest of the stuff has been surreal. It's very strange not to be able to go to the movies, not to be able to go to Broadway, not to be able to see my friends except on Zoom, but I'm becoming an expert Zoomer, so that's good.
And how about your writing? Are you being able to get much of that done? I know you're so busy because
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
You're writing essays, you're doing Mighty Blaze and your newsletter, and maybe more teaching. I don't know how you find enough hours in the day.
I'm obsessive. I'm really obsessive about this stuff. And also I have to. I before With or Without You came out, I figured that I needed to sell another book so I wouldn't be obsessed about whatever happened with or Without You. So I wrote up a first chapter and an outline and I sold it. And now I have to write it, which is the big surprise. It's due next October. So I have to work on it every day. And I keep thinking, why did I do that? Why didn't I just write the book first? But that's keeping me busy. So I have a really strong work ethic. So I'm really able to get everything done so far.
That's great. So we've all got questions that we are dying to ask you. I am interested in all the autobiographical elements in your books. I know that your latest novel, With or Without You, is about a woman who emerges from a months-long coma and discovers, among other startling changes, that she has suddenly acquired a new artistic talent, painting portraits. Now, I know that this situation was loosely inspired by your own experience more than 20 years ago after you came out of a month-long medically induced coma. And, I'm interested in how the protagonist in this book, how you gave her something that you didn't have. Talk to us about that when you emerged from your coma and the difference.
When I emerged from my coma, part of the problem was they gave me meds that would block my memory, and I never realized there was such a thing. And they did it because I guess I was in a lot of pain, or it just made me easier for them to deal with. But so I didn't remember being in the coma at all, and I wasn't changed afterwards. I was just sort of on morphine and hallucinating, but my body remembered. Even when I was better, like 6 months out of the hospital, if I smelled a certain kind of lotion, I would go in a panic attack and start to sweat. And that was really because that was the lotion the nurses used. Or, God help me if I saw stripes of any kind, because that's the stripe of the curtain. So I was having so much trouble that I thought, oh, maybe I have PTSD. So I went to a therapist, and the therapist told me, well, you're a writer. Why don't you write about it? So I actually wrote another coma novel first, which was called Coming Back to Me, which was exactly my story. A woman has a baby, goes into coma, and the book did well, but my body did not do well. I still had all these problems. So 5 years ago, my husband had to go to be a journalist in Norway, and he was gone for a week. And during that week, I could not sleep. I was terrified to go to sleep because I kept thinking it's too much like coma. I stayed up every single night watching every bad movie there is to watch. And I wouldn't sleep until it was 6 a.m. So I thought I have to do something about this. So I went to a different therapist, and this therapist said, well, I have the answer for you because I think you wrote the wrong kind of coma book. Instead of writing about somebody who's like you, why don't you write about somebody who's different? And I thought, oh, that sounds a lot better. So I knew I had to research. And I have this friend named Joseph Clark who works at the University of Cincinnati. And he was researching comas, and we had these long conversations where I would ask him, well, what can happen in a coma? And he said, well, we don't absolutely anything can happen because we don't really know what happens when people are in coma. It's the brain is like firing and rewiring all over the place, and maybe it's cellular memory, but he said all kinds of amazing things can happen. And I said, well, like what? And he said, well, people can emerge speaking fluent Mandarin. And as soon as he said that, I thought, wow, that's really interesting.
Why didn't that happen to me?
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. Why didn't it happen to me? Or he said, there was one case of some woman who woke up and she kept saying, oh, I need a violin. I need a violin. And they said, why? You don't play any instrument. You can't even carry a tune. And they brought her this violin, and she could play like a virtuosa.
Wow.
And she's not in stages. So as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, this is going to be so much lighter a book for me to write, and it's going to be really fun for me to write. So I decided that, just then and there, okay, I'm going to make Stella my protagonist. She's going to come out of this coma with a talent. And that's going to be like really, really, really fun to do. And it was. And once I had that, then I knew she was different than I am. And then I could sort of get into her head, and it sort of became, it sounds so funny to say this, but it became the coma I wish I had had instead of the one I had. And it was very healing. I still don't love it.
Yeah, sometimes writing, we're not even conscious of it. Sometimes writing is so cathartic for us, right?
It was very cathartic. I still don't love going to sleep, but I can now. But the smell of lotions doesn't bother me anymore. Stripes don't bother me anymore. The rest of the stuff sort of left. It's just the sleep stuff, and I feel, well, that'll pass, I hope.
Wow. But Caroline, that's what brought an authenticity to it, to the voice. You were in a coma, and it was beautifully done. It really was. And I didn't know until after, when I had read the article, that it was so different than your own, because I thought
you were totally different.
Yeah.
It was totally different. I just I guess there was a part of me where I just didn't want to go back to that place. I wanted to create a different place. And it was just thrilling to hear that, coming out of coma could be a very different experience than what I had.
Okay, okay, girls, I'm sorry, but I have to ask this crazy question. If you could have come out with one talent, what would it have been?
You know what? I wish I could sing. I would have loved
Me too.
I cannot. I have this odd voice. I cannot carry a tune. I'm a terrible singer. But the thought of like being able to sing really beautifully to me seems like it would be a miracle. I would love that. I would love that. It didn't happen.
That's great. I mean, what an incredible story, though, that you could write about something so profound. I mean, how many people can say they were in a coma and came out?
Yeah.
You could write a book about it to share that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a strange experience.
Kristen, you've got a question, right?
Yeah. So, Caroline, switching tracks a little bit, you've been so candid about describing your own rags to riches to rags again publishing journey, right? So just, for those who don't know, I think you had a huge first novel and then subsequently had a publisher go out of business and then another publisher go out of business, right?
Yep.
And then you had... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm the poster child for any writer out there who thinks I'm never going to make it. Listen to my story because you will. I did. I published my first book in my 20s. I won a young writers contest and I was like the flavor of the month. And I thought, this is really cool. I like this. I hope this happens all the time. And so my second novel did not do as well, and then my publisher went out of business. So I got to another publisher and they went out of business. And it got to the point when my agent kept saying, publishers are starting to talk about you. So I finally went out and I got a big 3-book deal from a major publisher. And as all of you know, if the publisher's not behind you, if they don't really promote, the book just doesn't matter whether it's good or not a good book, the book just dies. And that's what happened. 3 books just sort of nothing happened with them. And the same thing happened with my next 3 books. Nothing happened. And meanwhile, all my friends who were writers were getting prizes and they were known. And I was the idiot at the party where people would say, well, what do you do for a living? I would say, I'm a writer. And then, they never knew who I was. So there I was writing my 9th book, which was Pictures of You, on contract. And I thought it was, okay. And my agent really liked it. And I got a call from my editor at this big publishing house who said, Caroline, we're really sorry, but we can't publish this. And I said, yeah. And I said, why not? And she said, well, none of us here really think it's special. So, of course, at that point, I started to cry. And I said, well, I can make it special. Just tell me what you do. I can rewrite. I don't care how long it might. I can make this book work. And there was that silence again. And she said, none of us here really think that you can.
Oh my God.
Best of luck, best of luck and blah, blah, blah. So I hung up the phone and I thought this was my 9th novel. Now, if you have 9 novels out there and none of them except your first, which was 1 million years ago, did anything, it's not like publishers are going to be breaking down the door saying, oh, we'd love to publish your next novel that's not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. So my agent said, don't worry. And of course, I called all my writer friends, hysterical, saying, that's it. My career is over. What am I going to do? Yeah. And one of my friends said, look, I have this editor at Algonquin, and I think she will like your work. And I said, well, even if she likes it, she's not going to take it because I'm not selling. And my friend said, let me just finesse this. So she went and she took my manuscript and she gave it to this person at Algonquin, this woman named Andra Miller. And Andra called me up about 2 weeks later, and I thought, oh, she's, just being nice, and she's going to tell me no. And it took me about 10 minutes to realize she was pitching me Algonquin. And I finally stopped her, and because I'm an honest person, I said, look, I have to tell you, because I don't want any surprises. I don't sell books. I said, my sales figures are terrible. Nobody knows who I am. And she started to laugh, and she said, oh, honey, you will now. And they bought that book. They got it in 6 printings 6 months before it came out. They just built up the buzz. It became a New York Times bestseller its first week out.
Oh my gosh.
And my phone did not stop ringing. And it was so strange. And, the most gratifying thing of all was like 3 months after it was out, the editor who had told me the book was not special called my agent to ask if I wanted to go back to the publisher.
Oh my God.
And I said no. So it's actually like, I have a really good frame of mind about, what success is and what it means now, because I've seen both ends, and I feel like, just keep your head down, do your work, be kind to everybody. A lot of it is luck. Some of it isn't luck. A lot of it is like having the right publisher for you and having people behind you. But I tell writers all the time, don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. It took me 9 books and a lot of years.
Oh, wow.
Do you think that made you a better writer than you would have been if it had just all been smooth and beautiful sailing from the beginning with like accolades, everywhere with, everything being thrown at you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think you're right. I think it definitely made me a better writer because I kept sitting down thinking I couldn't figure out why the other books hadn't sold. And I kept looking at them saying, is it the plot? Is it this? Is it this other thing? And I started to study story structure and other books. And I worked really, really hard. I mean, I killed myself over Pictures of You. And I do for every book because, you never know. So I feel like, well, I might as well please myself first and just write the best book that I possibly can. And hopefully other people will like it as well. But definitely.
Isn't that the secret? Isn't that
such great advice? It really
so
is.
Inspiring. Wow.
Thank you. It's like that dark night of the soul in a book, right?
Yeah. It was terrible. It was just terrible.
We've all been there, and you just think it's never going to work.
It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And
the sun comes up. Yeah.
And then it turned around, and it can happen for every single writer out there. So, don't. If it happened to me, it can happen to you.
You can't take it for granted.
No.
Every book has to be your best.
Every book has to be your best, and I feel like the way it becomes your best is if I always say, if you go down and find your deepest self and put it on the page without fear or worry, then readers will be able to find their deepest self because of you. And that's what makes a book resonate for readers, I think.
Oh, that was
well write that down. That's amazing.
So this is our writing episode.
Yeah, forget the writing tip. We've just gotten like a dozen here.
I know. And they gotta be a better human tips too.
Right, exactly.
Right.
That was well said. Well said.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, no, Christy.
Yep. So in With or Without You, the protagonist's lover is an aging rocker who's finally on the verge of fame when his life is upended by his girlfriend's medical emergency. As we've mentioned, she goes into a coma after taking one of his recreational pills. So this book talks so well about the pursuit of fame and its effect on the famous adjacent and professional jealousy. Was that an aspect that you had planned on exploring in the novel, or was that just something that happened?
That's an interesting question. It was sort of something that happened because I didn't know much about the rock and roll life other than, that I like rock and roll. Mm-hmm. But my husband knows all these famous people. And I started having conversations with him, and he introduced me to a few of them. And I started to notice that there were 2 different kinds of famous people. There were the people like, I met a lot of people from the band, the Jefferson Airplane. And some of them it was ridiculous because some of them were in their late 60s and they were wearing tight little pants and tight little crop tops and, ogling all the girls. And I thought, oh, this is like somebody who just hasn't grown up. This is pathetic. And then there were the people who were in their 50s and 60s, some in their 70s, who had once been very famous, and now they weren't. Maybe like 10 people would know who they were, but they were still able to play their music, and they were happy. Yeah. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. This is really interesting to me and I can use that. And I started like I talked to some musicians asking, well, what does fame mean to you? And the idiots, the idiots who are all into fame and still looking 20 when they're in their 60s would say, well, fame is a million people who are cheering for you, who love what you do. And the ones who are just, making a nice living, being a musician, said, well, I don't think about fame. I just think about the work, much like writers. I just think about the work and the joy of playing music. And if people show up, it's great. And if they don't, well, maybe they will the next day. And I loved that. And the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to get it in the book.
That's awesome.
Love that.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
Which brings me to my question, which is that you have written very honestly and extensively about your own family.
Oh, yeah.
Your mom and your sister.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to tell you a secret, terrifies me.
Terrifies us all.
I know nobody else heard that but you, but
yeah. It is terrifying. It is terrifying because you can be sued. I actually had a lawsuit for my first book because this family, no, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was this family, Ben, B, and Rosie. I forget what their real name was. It was something like Neiman. And my characters were Ben, B, and Rosie Nelson. So it was sort of like a non-issue. Most of the writing I've done about my mom has been like since she got dementia, because my mother was very adamant about she did not want to be written about. She would call me up and yell at me, say, I don't want to be written about, don't you dare. But then when she had dementia, she didn't know. So, and I felt compelled to do it. My sister is a whole different story. I've been writing about my sister for a really long time. My first novel was actually about her, and she never knew it was about her. And I finally said, this book is about you. And she said, no, it isn't. My sister has a lot of problems, and she has threatened to sue. But the deal is, lucky for me, my first husband was a lawyer, and he told me that in order to successfully sue, you have to show damages. I mean, my sister she has not held down a job for a million years. She doesn't really have friends. And I was very careful to try to present the truth in a loving way. And I had to make a choice. If I wrote about my sister, would I be hurting her? Or would I be helping myself feel better and understanding about her, helping others? And I decided that I needed to help others. I will tell you, like, another lawsuit that I had was actually, I wrote about an ex-boyfriend who I was in this terrible relationship a long, long time ago with this guy who wouldn't let me eat. He literally would follow me around.
That goes in the category of terrible.
Yeah, he would follow me around.
I've got my M&Ms right here. So
he would follow me around to make sure I wasn't eating stuff. And dinner was always like a baked potato and broccoli. And Lord help me if I put butter on the potato. So you might ask, why would I stay in a relationship like this? And the reason was because before I met him, I had been involved with this great, great guy who had died. And I had been just grieving. And I got to the point after about 5 months where I said, I can't do this anymore. And I thought, well, if I get in a relationship, I won't have to grieve. And so I met this guy, and we very quickly started to live together, and I wasn't grieving. So every time he would do something horrible, then my first inclination was, well, screw you, I'm leaving. And then I thought, well, if I leave, I'm going to have to grieve. And I finally left him when I went to sit down to write, and I found that he had gone in my computer and rewritten the whole chapter, he said, to make it funnier. So I left.
Oh my God.
I know, it was ridiculous.
That it was your writing that was the best.
So I left.
Don't cross that line.
That was it. You can't cross that line.
Yeah.
So I left, and I went back to grieving. I had to grieve for like another 6 months. And then I decided to write about it. And I wrote this article called The Grief Diet, just about how I loved, because I went down to 95 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And I did not mention his name. I did not mention his profession. I did not mention what he looked like. The only true thing that I mentioned was that we both lived on the Upper West Side. And the essay was published, and then all of a sudden I get a call from Random House Lawyer. And they said, oh, we got this call. And I said, oh, let me guess. Was it from blah, blah, blah? And they say, yes. And he wants to suppress the book and sue you because you wrote about him. And I said, well, I didn't use his name and I didn't describe him. And, it's been by that time it had been like 15 years. And I said, we don't have any of the same friends anymore. And she said, okay, I will tell him and tell him to go away. So they got him to go away. So I always tell people, you have to be sort of careful, and you have to think the whole thing about family suing you is that they have to prove that you've really damaged them, which I didn't really want to do. I mean, like if my sister had been a dentist, I wouldn't have written about how she had ruined people's teeth because that's suable. No. That is suable. But if you write about, well, my sister did such and such a thing and it made me if you put it back on you, it made me feel this way and I had to act this way because I felt so terrible and I felt that she was blah, 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 then you're safe. You just can't make blanket statements that somebody is a drunk or a drug addict.
Wow, this is a great writing tip.
Yeah. But
what do you tell your writing students when they want to write about their families? What do you, because we get that question a lot, like, can I tell the truth about my family?
You can, but you want to be careful. It's sort of like, Anne Lamont says, your stories are your stories. Your life is your life. If people didn't want you to write about them, they should have behaved better. But my feeling is that, I don't really feel that way because sometimes people can't help themselves how they behave.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to think really with great certainty why you're writing this. And for me, it was, I needed to understand why the sister I loved so deeply hated me now. And I was very careful, and you want to be really careful. The things that could be actionable or that could really destroy somebody, I left out. Like if you're writing about, your brother and he's married and he's having an affair, you might need to write about the affair. Maybe you can get at your point another way. You have to figure out what would be your point about writing that. And it might be, well, he's having this passionate affair and he's very loving. Why can't he be loving towards me? And I would say to the students, well, maybe you can find a different example of that. Because if you start, you're talking about his affair is going to deeply hurt his partner, and it's going to be a big, huge mess. So I always say, try to think about the stuff that concern you personally. Don't demonize. Try to understand about your family member, and be prepared. Be prepared for anger or rage. But my situation with my sister was also, she already hated me. So I felt that on one level, well, maybe if I wrote this, we could get in conversation. And that didn't happen. But, you're walking a tightrope. You're really walking a tightrope. And you just try to be as honest as you can without, just ragging on somebody. You're trying to understand why they are the way they are. And then it becomes a truth, and then it can help other people, and then that's why you can do it.
Right, and that's
great answer.
Story. Which leads to my question, actually, because first of all, thank you. You've taught us a lot already tonight.
Oh, I'm so glad.
You have. The legalities are something that we always have to struggle with, so thank you. But I'm really impressed. I think we were talking earlier, all of us are, that you teach advanced and beginning writing classes at both UCLA and Stanford University. And you offer a one-on-one consulting services, which I'm amazed. But here's, in my mind, this is a huge commitment, both of your personal self, but your time. And all of us are busy. You, as we said, you do A Mighty Blaze and all the essays and other things. How do you balance this with such a busy writing career? And also, one other thing, I'm a former teacher. What drives you to teach?
Okay, I'm going to take that question about driving me to teach. I learn so much from my students. I really do. I mean, I make them critique each other because I really feel if you can look at somebody's work and figure out, oh, this doesn't work, and how can I make it work? It helps me in my own writing. Also, I really love my students. It's just really interesting to see. I make them get really personal. I make them get really personal in their writing, and you get to know each other on a really deep basis, and it's fun. And also, I have enough. In terms of classes, I can't pick and choose who's in the class. But when I do personal stuff, I get to choose the people I want to work with. So that makes it much more enjoyable. In terms of time, I've been lucky because I'm very fast. I'm ridiculously fast, and I just manage to get things done. And I'm happiest when I'm doing a lot of different things. So it works out.
Wow, it's pretty amazing that you can do all that. It really is. My hat's off to you.
So, Caroline, we have a lot in common with our online Facebook shows. You are a founding member of A Mighty Blaze, along with Jenna Blum. And actually, I think we have a viewer question that has to do with that. So let's see if that viewer is around.
Hi, friends and fiction readers. Hi, Caroline. Boo! I wish I could have popped in person tonight to surprise you, but I am doing an event with Elizabeth Berg for underserved children and trying to get them some books to read. So unfortunately, I have to say hi to everybody via video. But I feel like this is a little appropriate given the fact that Caroline and I have co-founded a company called A Mighty Blaze that helps link writers and their new books and readers virtually. So Caroline, question for you that I would have asked you had I been able to pop on. What do you think after our 9 months of having the Blaze up and running? What do you think the Blaze offers its viewers and its readers? And what is the vision that you have going forward for it post-pandemic? Inquiring minds want to know, including mine. So I hope you are all having a wonderful time tonight, and thank you so much for watching, and happy reading, y'all. Stay safe. Bye.
That is the most wonderful surprise. That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Jenna Blum she's really the heart of A Mighty Blaze. She's a genius. She does most of this stuff. We are going forward. I'm actually doing much less in the Blaze now than Jenna is because I have to write my book, and also because Jenna is like the Oprah of the Mighty Blaze world. A Mighty Blaze offers people community. It really does. We get these extraordinary writers to come and be interviewed. We promote new authors. We interview debut authors. Jenna has started running virtual book festivals virtually, and she does it in tiara and heels. Jenna is going to be starting a series of classes for people can take through the Blaze. We have merchandise. We've gone political this year. I really have to credit Jenna Blum because she is amazing. I would not be surprised if she has a TV show next. But it's a wonderful community, so you should come over. Everybody's welcome, and it's very much fun.
Well, we're so happy that you could tell us about that. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the bookstore of the week, which is the community bookstore in Brooklyn. Yep, there they are, and they are offering a 10% discount. You just use the code FriendsFiction10. And now we're going to see what the viewers want to know from Caroline. So we've chosen some questions that were posted on the Facebook page earlier, and we'll ask them now. But while we're talking, if you have something you'd like to ask, post it, and if we can, we'll try to get to it. Mary Alice, you've got the first question.
I do. And Lisa Morgan Cass, she says the question for Caroline and all you ladies is, you have a short bookshelf. What 3 books are on it? I'm really curious if and what other genres pop up with women fiction authors. Okay. So 3 books, y'all have to name it.
John Irving, The World According to Garp. Hieroglyphics, Jill McCorkle, and all of your books.
Okay, you broke the rules and went over, but we're good.
I know, but I did it for a good reason.
Just for love.
Do you have an answer to that? Can you think of 3 books on your bookshelf?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking, I didn't think we were going to have to answer this, but I was thinking, there's no way that I could pick 3 books, right? So, you did a great job, because I find that an impossible task. A lot of times, and I know all the other ladies too, sometimes you do a book signing and it comes to Q&A time and they say, what's some of your favorite books? And your mind goes, zzz, right?
Well, I have to say, it's not what I would pick for 3 books that would be like I'm just so happy to share with you the 3 books that I'm reading. On this program, we have such wonderful authors that we're constantly reading your books. So the 3 books I'm reading really concurrently are, and I finished, With or Without You by Caroline Levitt, Fanny Flagg's Wonder Boy at the Whistle Stop, and coming up, Sue Monk's Kid Book of Longing.
There you go.
I am reading the exact
right
same
now.
3 books you are.
What a weird coincidence.
So strange.
So what we're going to say then is ditto.
Ditto to you.
Ditto for all of us. Ditto.
You've got a question, right?
I do. So Erica Shepard Roebuck, who we all know and love.
Love Erica.
So for those of you who don't know, Erica is not only a great Friends in Fiction member, but she's also an incredible author. And to sneak it in, she actually has a book coming out in February called The Invisible Woman, based on a true World War II spy. It's going to be incredible. But she said, I love Caroline. And my question is, for such a prolific writer, what is your writing routine?
Oh, okay. Well, I usually first thing when I get up, I have breakfast. Then I sit down at my desk and I don't get up for 3 or 4 hours. I can't do more than 4 hours. And then I do everything else. When I'm doing a novel, the first thing is outlining, mapping, character walls, all this other stuff. And then I start the writing. And a large part of my writing routine is actually panic, because I know I have a deadline. And so I have to, make this good and get it in. And I always give myself tight deadlines so that I can make them. And that's my routine.
Wow. Do you do it by word? Do you do by words or time?
Time, never by words. Never by words. Because I can spend 3 hours on one paragraph. And, if that's done by words, then I'd really be disappointed in myself.
Interesting.
Hey, Christy, do you want to ask one of the live questions that our viewers posted?
Yeah, so I first wanted to say that so many people are praising your tenacity and are just so happy that you kept writing. And I think we can all echo that for sure. And Joyce Merrill wants to know, this is kind of an everybody question, does anybody write by hand?
I do.
Yeah, for some things. I mean, I have, where's my notebook? I ripped out the pages. I do. When I'm figuring stuff out, I will write by hand. But when I'm doing the writing, it's got to be on the computer.
Yeah. I can't even read my own handwriting at this point. So
yeah, my handwriting is
me too.
My brain's too fast. I can take notes and character sketches, but I can't keep up by hand.
Yeah, I'm the
Kristen,
same.
do you have a question that you want to pull off one of the a live question?
Yeah, Bruce Gilbert is wondering, Caroline, whether you can give us an idea of what you're writing next.
Oh, you know what? I wish I could, but I don't know yet. I sold it on this premise and this first chapter, and I'm still sort of feeling my way. So I would be too embarrassed to say something that wasn't right. Yeah. So I can't.
Okay.
We get it. We totally
get it. The setting? Give us a hint. The setting?
I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry. I have to be really secretive because I don't have a handle on it yet, and I don't know what to say about it. Because I don't know what to say about it, if I tell you what it's about, I'm afraid I'll look at your faces and there'll be expressions like, really? So I don't want to.
It will have words. Words will be in paragraphs. The paragraphs will be in chapters. Right? It's like,
and you'll write and at the end. So we know.
Another live question, Caroline. People were concerned about what put you into the medically induced coma 20-some years ago.
Oh, it was actually it was after I delivered my son, and after delivery, your immune system gets a little glitchy. And what happened is my body started producing this protein. It turned out it was just a protein. And what this protein did is it stopped all of my blood from clotting. And it's a really rare disorder. It's called a postpartum factor VIII inhibitor because it inhibits your factor VIII, which is what keeps your blood clotting. So I was just bleeding, and they kept doing operation after operation just to get the blood out. They glued my veins shut. I had all these transfusions, and finally there was this little hematologist who was just about to retire, and she had seen this once before in Germany, and because the treatment was so toxic and poisonous, she wanted the hospital to do this special test to see if this protein came up, and they did, and it did, and that was actually she was who saved me. She was who saved me.
Saved your life.
We're glad she did. Hey, Caroline. Can you, everyone is wanting your writing tip. So will you share, the woman gets paid to do this, but hopefully tonight she's gonna give it out to us.
I'm going to give it out. I have this Bible for, plot comes out of character. And I have this Bible that I call the Wants and Needs Bible. And I will compress it for you, which is, you have to start with a character who desperately wants something with great stakes. And they want it because they have some sort of a moral blind spot or a misconception about it. Whatever they want, they can't get. But you can give them, after a lot of struggle, what they need instead. So it's like, I call it the Rolling Stone method of plotting. It's like you can't get what you want, but if you try, and that means real struggle, you can get what you need. And you know what? It works every time. That's
a good one because it's easy to remember. Just think about Mick Jagger.
Yep. There you go.
Right. I'm going to play that music when I finish my next outline.
Okay, we've got some announcements tonight. We've got so much to tell you guys about tonight. So we're just going to get right to it. Patty has a book recommendation for us tonight.
I do. We try to talk every week about a debut and talk about novelists who have debut novels. And tonight I wanted to tell you about Andrew Gattani's novel, Duty and Desire, which is the first in a whole series about, it's about family and expectations and arranged marriages. It's an, hashtag own voices. And it's just been optioned for a movie. And it is her debut novel. And she's from Atlanta. And I'm really proud of her. And I wanted to let y'all know about that book.
That's awesome.
Gorgeous. And Mary Alice, you are going to tell us a little bit about upcoming guests, right?
Upcoming guests, right. Well, next week, Patty's hosting Hank Felipe Ryan and JT Ellison. So we're excited. I know you know them.
Yeah.
And then
I know. Are you lucky?
I know.
Oh, that's so lucky.
And then we close the month of November with a Suma Kid, who we're very excited as we talked about the book along. So we're
she's
excited
wonderful.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, and Patty has something else she wants to tell us about.
Yeah, so we have every once in a while we have an addition, and we have a really exciting addition to our December 9th show. So a screenwriter and a producer named Todd Komernicki is the producer for the Christmas blockbuster Elf. And
all my favorite.
I know, right? So he is going to join us with our guest, Andy McDowell, and we are going to talk about screenwriting and producing and book-to-movie adaptation.
Don't want to miss this one.
You do not want to miss this. But I just want to let y'all know we had added him to the schedule, and we're really excited to talk about all of that.
Yeah.
And Christy?
Well, I am so excited because next Monday at 7, I am the guest on our official Friends and Fiction book club page. So I'll be live on the Friends and Fiction book club page at 7 talking about my book. I wasn't thinking I was doing this, so I'm glad I have this here. Feels Like Falling, which is my latest release that came out in April. And so join us. It's going to be really, really fun. And they've been having great discussions in the group for the past couple of weeks about Feels Like Falling. And I'm just so excited to be there and tell everybody about it.
Awesome.
Right. And so, we're going to bring up the graphics so you can see about Caroline's book.
It's so wonderful.
With or without you. And we're so grateful that Caroline was here with us tonight. And
Thank you, Caroline.
I feel like I went to a writer's boot camp.
Yeah.
I just can't get over the story about the boyfriend that wouldn't let you eat. Like that.
I know.
But also,
he was pretty awful.
I mean, honestly, with or without you, I'm going to pull up the cover so everyone sees it. Such a beautiful writing.
Yeah.
You had me at the first line.
Thank you.
It was just wow. So thank you.
And so I want you all to remember that our bookstore of the week is the community bookstore in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And I hope, part of what our mission is here on Friends and Fiction is to connect readers with writers and also with indie bookstores who are community owned and operated. And that's really an important part of our mission. So I hope you guys will support the community bookstore and all of our indie bookstores. And you know what? That's our show tonight. We want to thank you so much.
Wait, don't forget to tell them about tomorrow night. Wait, tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow night.
I will. I had the best time. Thank you. Thank you all
Caroline, that was
so much. I'm just absolutely thrilled.
we're so happy to
I'm
have
so
you.
glad you came out of that comment. Thank you, Caroline. So before we go, we want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, the F&F gang will be interviewing Fannie Flagg. And you can that's right, Fannie Flagg. You can get a link to the Zoom with purchase of a book from Page and Palette Bookstore in Fairhope, Alabama. And you won't find us here tomorrow night on Friends and Fiction. You're going to have to go to Page and Palette, and it is a book with purchase situation, and all the deets will be on the Friends and Fiction website. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Love you. Thank you.
Oh,
She was awesome.
Wow,
what a
amazing
story.
woman.
What a story.
Okay, I just have to set a stage for you guys right now. Like, I'm not going to show you, but so I'm in my dining room. And our living room's over here and our kitchen is behind me. And, it's like a lot of space. So my son is standing in one. My husband is standing in the other, like right here. And they have been doing something with fishing line and fishing rods the entire time that I've been on here. And it's like,
Why did you get hooked?
to kill y'all. What are you doing?
I know what they're doing, Christy, because my husband and son do it. They are they're redoing their fishing line.
And I think they were outside and then it started raining. So now here we are.
The old fishing line is no good. So you have to take it off and you have to,
They're not fly fishing, otherwise they'd be right in your hair.
We have some people on our comments asking about our Friends and Fiction merch, since we've talked about it on the website or on the Facebook page. We will be getting, I just wanted to say we'll have news on that soon. I know a lot of people have asked, a lot of people are asking.
Yeah. And I know it seems like it should be easy just for everybody out there, but it's kind of complicated, and they're like tax stuff involved and setting up online. Like there are like a lot of things that we had to kind of go through. So it seems like, oh, hey, make some t-shirts, send them out. But it's kind of a little more complicated.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
We promise, and we are truly working on it as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
So rest assured there will be merch. It's just we have to figure out how.
And we're so glad you guys responded to the poll that we put up.
Yeah.
That
was amazing.
Yeah, so fun.
That was really great.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it myself.
Yeah.
I want a coffee mug. I want my own.
So do I.
I need a t-shirt so I can wear it every day. I've been wearing mine.
Kristen, my sister's like, I want one of those t-shirts.
And my mom said she wants one too. And I could only find one of mine when I got home. So I think I
you left it here, Christy.
Oh,
Man.
I will send it to you.
I'm putting a vote in for Friends and Fiction M&Ms. That's what
Yes.
right here.
Oh my gosh, Noah was so fascinated by those. He's like, but how did they get the letters on the M&Ms? He was so into it.
I hand painted
And you
every
see it now, I
single
I assumed that you did. Yes.
It's a little tiny.
Patty, I saw that you have a makeup something. Are we going to have a sample? I would love samples of that. What's the makeup?
What?
Oh,
On
Patty.
your line, you had on your Facebook today.
Me?
No, Patty.
I'm sorry,
Patty.
Patty.
I didn't have any makeup on my Facebook.
No, you put something about
Yeah, you did. I was on Instagram with some skin.
cosmetic.
What was that? That was very cool. Your skin looked radiant.
My local in Mountain Brook, Alabama, there's this amazing store and beauty aesthetic, and they have beauty therapy, and they carry all clean products. And so Christy and I were always talking about, using makeup and products without chemicals in them. And I talked about they did an Instagram story about me. They put makeup on me. I don't look like myself. And I told a story about it. And one of them is Alchemy, which is by a company named Moon and Rock, which is my daughter. And the other product I use is Augustus. What's the last name?
Bader. B-A-D-E-R.
Yeah. Thank you for asking because Christy and I.
I thought you looked radiant.
Yeah.
That's somebody else.
I wanted to know what you were using. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else put my makeup on. But that was fun. And listen, I could talk to Caroline Levitt for
hours.
Doesn't that make me one of her?
I was sitting here thinking, should I send her my next manuscript? And I'm like, God, it's your 8th book. Like, surely you can get it together. Like, you can do this, Christy. Come on.
Yeah.
But how does she do that? I mean, even if she's fast, to teach at these different locations, to do one-on-one, to do Mighty Blaze and write a novel.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to insert was the from long experience. I wanted to say editors rarely call you in person to tell you how much your book sucks.
I know.
So when the Algonquin editor called her up, that, for most of us, that would have been a good sign. Although I still can't believe the old editor called and said, "We don't love you."
Oh my
gosh! A series of, that they usually distance themselves
from the bad news.
From the bad news. Usually, if an editor calls you, usually it's good news.
Yeah,
I could feel the blood leaving my head, leaving my going down. Could you guys feel it in your body?
Yes.
I couldn't believe. I couldn't imagine how I would feel if she said, "Oh, we don't think you can fix it."
Yeah. And you're not special.
That is the worst. And you're not special.
Yeah.
But her tenacity
come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. I mean, I feel like every little bump in the road, I have felt it's over. This is it. Like, I'm never going to get another, and then to be able to really make it through that, because you are so attached. It's so personal to you. I'm actually kind of writing about that right now, which is sort of funny, but not in writing, but in another career thing, the one my characters is going through. So y'all, this really helped. Thanks.
It made me think, though, I wonder if going through that made her that much more attuned to the plight of other writers. And if maybe that's part of why her heart is so much in A Mighty Blaze right now, it's
interesting.
Because it's tough. It's a really tough world out there for all of us who are doing this and pouring our hearts and souls into our writing. So, good for her for sticking with it, but then paying it forward too.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what my dog just did. She just ate my lipstick. Want to see her mouth?
I hope it was from Patty's store.
I have to go.
Nothing exciting. Christy's got fishing line. I'm just like, all right.
It's a brand new one too.
You can read Caroline's. By the way, you can read Caroline's essays, Psychology Today essays, if you Google them. You can Google Caroline Levitt. She has them posted on her website, and they're really profound and thought-provoking. So anybody who's interested in the art of the personal essay and laying bare all your family secrets.
Wow.
She does it.
It's terrifying. I have friends who are trying to write memoirs, and it's really hard to know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, everybody. I have to go eat some leftovers because I've been living like a hobo.
I gotta wash my dog.
Eat some more M&Ms and
Jason made lobster tonight. We're having lobster for dinner.
Oh, okay.
Gosh.
I've actually already eaten. I'm like early bird special over here.
Well, you got it, guys.
Hanging out with us when you have lobster.
Yeah, oh my darling.
Julie,
Cheers again. Go eat your lobster, and don't forget everyone to vote
tomorrow night with Fanny.
Yes, technically are like way oversold. We were only supposed to be able to sell 200 tickets, I think, and we're like way above that. So I don't know.
Yeah. See everybody tomorrow night. If you're here tonight, come see us tomorrow night with Fanny because she's going to be a great interview.
We're so excited.
Okay, good night, y'all.
Thanks, everyone. Good